All right, guys, we got another video. This one is PlayStation 5 goes back to full exclusives. 0 games on Xbox or PC. Let's check it out.
Hey there, gamers. Dreamcast Guy here. Today we're talking about PlayStation because a new leaked meeting has just completed, and the new head of PlayStation has said that they're going back to full exclusive. No games on PC whatsoever. And it sounds like more than that. They experimented with a couple games going to like Nintendo Switch, games like Horizon, Lego, and also they did put some stuff on Xbox, Helldivers, things like MLB The Show. But it sounds like basically it made zero money. It sounds like the experiment just hurt the PlayStation brand. They basically are saying, hey, we got to go back to the idea that, hey, if you see something like Uncharted or Killzone or Resistance, if you see those PlayStation games, that means, hey, it's time to buy a PlayStation. Let's take a look at this statement. Let's take a look at the reactions, because I got to admit that what's crazy to me is Xbox fans are sort of cheering this, saying, yes, bring back the console wars, but PC fans are mad, like actually mad. I'm seeing tweets of PC people saying, this is the last time you betray me, Sony.
If PC guys are mad, it's probably because, and I'm not saying all PC guys, but I'm sure there are some that are going to be mad because of these exclusives. And that just goes to show you that Sony has the power to make bomb-ass exclusives. They do. Especially the PS4 life cycle. You can go back and take a gander at that, man. They've done excellent shit over there. And hopefully they do more on the PS5. They've been dragging their damn feet on the PS5. But they need to get their shit together. Hopefully we can get this and we can make this pop. But I think that's why PC gamers are upset. Some PC gamers are upset.
Let's get into it. Hi, hope you're having a great day. If you could please give this video a like and subscribe if you haven't already. So, we just finished talking about the fact that they are jacking up the price of PlayStation Plus Premium. Show me the money. They're also jacking up the price of the PlayStation itself. So it seems odd that in a lot of ways, I think Sony is trying to like basically go back to their walled garden approach. Let's make it so we have this fortress of good games and see how high we can raise the walls before you'll stop coming in, right? This is it. Jason Bloomberg, why did I say it like that? Jason Schreier of Bloomberg said PlayStation Studios business CEO Hermen Hulst told staff in a town hall Monday that the company's narrative single-player games are going back to being PlayStation exclusive, confirming Bloomberg's reporting earlier this year. Now, when this happened, I talked about it at the time. The video kind of blew up at the time, but a lot of people were saying that they just couldn't believe it. That in a lot of ways, this seemed a bit strange.
Well, me personally, as a Sony guy, I'm excited for this, man, because that's my favorite genre of games, single player games. Like, I grew up on that. I'm an introvert. I like single player games. Are there games that I play with friends? Yeah, I mean, I like Warhammer. I like, some of these games. But if I'm being honest with myself, I mean, guys, I love my single player games, and Sony is they do some of the best games in that realm, right? And so that's what kind of made me fall in love with Sony way back on towards the end of the PlayStation 3's life cycle, when I still was playing 360 and was a heavy player over there. I play everything though, so I'm not just a guy who just strictly plays Sony. If you're new to this channel, I play everything. I own multiple consoles. I Steam Deck as well, and I play a lot of retro shit too. So I'm just a gamer at heart, but I do favor Sony over everything else. And this is something that I've been waiting for, that a lot of us as Sony fans are waiting for. We're waiting for those exclusives to come back, because PS5 has not had many of those. Okay, we have some, they're kind of mid, they're not all that, in my opinion. Nothing that I'm just like writing home about, but I'm waiting for some of these other games to come out. And now that they've cut PC players' throats, that's not a good look if you're a PC player.
Shit, my nigga, please.
And it's just not a good look. So I can understand, people being upset about that,
because it sort of counteracts their statements from years ago. You can see this is actually an article from 2024, and for 2024 and 2025, Sony was acting like putting games on PC was obvious, that it was the only correct choice. Sony says greater focus on putting first-party games on PC can help improve PlayStation's profit margins. Essentially what Sony was saying at the time is that making games is obviously very, very expensive. I mean, some of the leaked numbers of some of these Sony games, like Insomniac's Spider-Man 2, they spent $300 million just making that. So, They basically were saying, if we take some stuff that's even years old and put it on PC and it sells even halfway decent, we make our money back, we invest that into future games, and maybe somebody will say, hey, maybe it's worth buying a PlayStation. It could be that entry level, right? If you're getting the second God of War, let's put the first God of War, right? Always that sort of taste test of, hey, come over to Team Console, at least for the exclusives.
That would kind of hurt though if I was a PC guy only. And I didn't mess with consoles, and you give me God of War, and then I'm waiting for God of War 2, and then you give me blue balls. You give me digital blue balls for that. Like that would kind of suck, you know what I mean? Or if you're a PC guy and you're like, yo, we're gonna get a lot of these awesome PlayStation exclusives, and then you're not getting them now. Yeah, that would definitely suck. If I'm being honest with you.
And so it's weird that it just seems like they're completely backtracking against all of that. Look at these freaking replies. People are like, Asha Sharma's Twitter mentions are about to go crazy. PC Master Race in front of PlayStation Studios saying, can I speak to your manager? A lot of people are saying that the GOAT, Jason Schreier, was a liar when he originally leaked this. Sony raising the price of PlayStation Plus and pulling single-player games off PC in the same day they woke up and chose violence against everyone simultaneously. And people, salty PC fanboys out there, will call Jason Schreier a liar. Now, this to me is such an odd stance. I almost want to say, partially, this is because of all the big stuff they maybe have cooking. Like, let's try and say
I
this.
hope so. Shit.
Like, we have to skew this very heavily, but let's assume they have a bunch of exclusives upcoming, right? There's talks about maybe we're going to see a new Infamous or an Infamous remake. Maybe it's them sort of telling themselves internally, hey, this stuff, just make it look amazing on PlayStation 5, PlayStation 5 Pro, and maybe a PlayStation 6 port. We're not going to worry about PC. We're not going to worry about every other console. We're not going to try and do that. Just make it amazing on PS5, and systems are already selling. Hopefully this leads to even higher sales in the future. But a lot of people are straight up rage voting. Let them crash against the wall. I understand, and I'm full for exclusives against the competition's consoles, but pulling away from PC is a huge mistake.
Well, boo fucking who?
The money they're losing from PC is now being covered by PlayStation Plus. Congratulations, ponies. I assume that's how this gentleman talks. That's the thing, right? Is that a lot of people are sort of seeing this as very much they're trying to put down the gauntlet.
Man, the shit that bothers me or just kind of just rubs me the wrong way is why people hate on a console that they don't have, right? Why don't just buy the console? Or just, not even bother. I mean, if you don't have the console, if you hate the console, why even worry about what that console is doing over there? You know what I mean? Like the PC players, who hate PlayStation and PlayStation who hates Xbox and vice versa and all of that. It makes no sense, right? Everybody plays games. So why can't everybody just be like, hey man, we have a culture and this is just us gamers. We're all, people. Now there are, don't get it wrong. There are a lot of us too who believe this and who think this way. Who I believe that a gamer is a gamer. I don't care what you play, right? But there are some people who are very territorial with their shit and with their brand, and they can't play anything else, and they refuse to overhype their shit and underhype everybody else's. And I think that's just stupid in my opinion.
When they first started even rumored to be pulling away from PC, I think a lot of that is that the next-gen console of Xbox, Project Helix, there's multiple very confirmed leaks and basically statements implicitly from Xbox themselves that it's going to be a hybrid console PC, that instead of just playing Xbox games, it's straight up going to have like Steam launcher on it. And I think that in a lot of ways, like PlayStation doesn't like the idea, hey, you could boot up Spider-Man on literally an Xbox, play with an Xbox controller on your Xbox. Even if PlayStation gets a cut, they don't love the idea of how that'll look. It feels like there is a lot of people that you talk to that just really don't understand exclusives.
And I think also a lot of people don't understand Sony players, because Sony has a more of a what's the word I'm saying? More of a diehard kind of fan base, if that makes any sense, guys. They're more or less, they don't have a lot, they have casual gamers, but a lot of their fan base, in my opinion, are more of a diehard type of thing. Like they look for those exclusives and they buy those exclusives and they play them exclusives. And most people who play Sony and Sony first, they have a list full of exclusives that they love, like, that they adore, right? And that's just my opinion on it. That's who, for me talking to people, for me watching stuff, going in threads and all of that. That's how I look at it. I got a PlayStation sweatshirt on. I got a fucking, Squaresoft throwback OG, hat. You know what I mean? These type of situations. So, I mean, it is what it is. But can we all just get along is what I'm trying to say.
A lot of people don't really understand that there's some games that exist here, some games that exist here. There are a lot of normies out there that just straight up do not understand stuff. They're like, all right, which plastic box plays that game trailer that I saw before I watched Fast and the Furious 25, right? So it seems like they're trying to basically break down on market confusion, but it's weird to think about the age of only on PlayStation coming back. We'll see if it ends up being something good. It is just single player games, so they're live.
That shit is dope. That's just dope. I love that. That's what's up. I need to get that fucking meme. I definitely need that meme.
Service stuff, like that weird Horizon live service game and stuff, it's coming back. A lot of PlayStation fans, though, are genuinely happy about it. And I think part of it comes down to the fact that it's hard not to be nostalgic for this PlayStation 3 and PlayStation 4 era, right? So many games, new Jak and Daxter, Shadow of the Colossus remake, so many games that were funded, bought, paid for, crazy games that were Sony only on PlayStation that were the hardware pushers.
Which, if we're keeping it gangster, Shadows of the Colossus, my all-time favorite game ever. I love that fucking game. Just information, just FYI.
The next big PlayStation game was something people were always talking about. I used to call this the era of the victory lap, where basically every time PlayStation came out with a game, they would just sell tons of copies, tons of consoles, tons of limited edition controllers, and then they'd brag about it while announcing the next exclusive, the next crazy game, sometimes a direct sequel, right? It's weird to think about the fact that at this point, Sony just doesn't release games. I mean, in a lot of ways, they kind of don't need to, but it's a lot more fun when they do, right? When I see stuff like this, I've seen a lot of PlayStation fans starting to say that Xbox needs to step up to sort of take down this egotistical Sony. This guy here, MBG, Muscle Bound Gamer, I think is what that stands for, is a very big PlayStation guy, very PlayStation-centric YouTuber. That's how he phrases it. Some people say he's a fanboy. I think it's just...
No, he's a guy who, I know of him a little bit, and I fuck with him too. I fuck with Dreamcast guy. I fuck with a lot of these guys. But MBG was an Xbox guy. Okay, he used to be an Xbox guy years ago, and then he got into the ecosystem of PlayStation, and then he started seeing what everybody was saying, and he was playing a lot of the IPs that were exclusive to PlayStation, and he fell in love with those games, and he became a converted PlayStation fan. And that's basically him. You can go way back in his videos. He'll tell you the story. He'll tell you what happened, what games changed him, and all that type of stuff. So this does happen.
He ain't lying.
Very excited about the console, but at this point, I'm rooting for Xbox to kick the crap out of PlayStation so Sony wakes up. Of course, not everything with PlayStation is bad, but it's gotten to a point where the idea that PlayStation 4, PlayStation 3 era seems like a pipe dream. You know, that version of PlayStation that acknowledged they had a fan base, that actually communicated, actually made attempts to listen to the fans, and take it to the next level with feedback, at the very least attempt to drum up some genuine excitement around the brand. We all know they are a corporation and it's a business at the end of the day, but still, that doesn't mean they have to be sterile, cold, calculated, and boring, right? I don't know why I'm making this guy sound like that. He probably just talks like a normal human.
He's spitting facts. I'm not trying to come off as someone who wants to see PlayStation go down in flames. Just a fan who feels like there's barely any excitement anymore covering PlayStation. Every week is some bad news, and when there is some good news, there's always something right next to it to offset it instantly. Okay? This has been most of the PS5 generation, unfortunately. These are all facts. You're talking to a guy who loves Sony to death over here, and this is true. I have to call it like I see it. Sony has not been coming with that fire like they had in past consoles, especially PS4. I think they did too good on PS4 because now and that's what sold the PS5, if we're being honest. That's what sold the PS5. We all saw what they did with PS4, all of those hits, and we said, oh shit, they're going to take it to the next level. And so everybody was salivating at the mouth to get the PS5. Even you can go back and look at some of the old trailers before PS5 came out in 2020, where they were saying that certain games were coming out this year for the PlayStation 5, and they didn't come out until a year, 2 years later, right? They used that to get those sales, right? It was a marketing plea. And now they have literally taken their foot off the gas and stopped producing so many of these games. And now everybody is thirsty. We're wondering where those games are. We're still living in the PS4 era. So when you're getting so much back then, and then you get to the new console and you're not getting as much, not even, I'd say half as much, if that, what are we supposed to do? What are we doing here now? A Dreamcast guy is a PS5 guy. He definitely, if you had to pick a system, he's definitely over there. And so you can see it. That's why you hear me saying, come on, Dreamcast guy, let's not overdo it. This guy's spitting facts, and he's spitting them because he feels passionate about Sony, because he's a Sony fan. And that's how I feel too. If you hear me bitching on this channel about Sony, it's because I'm upset and I know they can do better. Right? That's just coming from a fan's perspective, guys.
Yeah! Really now?
There's a balance that can be achieved where one doesn't have to come at the expense of everything else. I'm not trying to come off as someone who just wants to see PlayStation go down in flames, just a fan who feels like there's barely any excitement anymore in covering PlayStation. Every week is some bad news, and when there's only some good news, there's always something right next to it that's offset immediately. That has been most of the PlayStation 5 generation, unfortunately. I'm in the camp where I want to try to be excited about this, but it's hard not to see this as almost more of a threat than a promise. It doesn't feel like, hey, we're improving. Hey, we're working on Uncharted 5. Hey, we have crazy new exclusives. Hey, there's all sorts of new stories we're cooking up. It feels instead like a threat. You're going to play at my house or else we're going to burn the house down, right? We'll see how it plays out. At this point, with how low some game sales were, like Saros, I'm almost kind of thinking this is just them sort of saying, look, we are able to fund whatever we want.
They have so many dope IPs, guys. Like the infamous IP is rumored to be in the works. They have things that they can lean on. They definitely do. But it's up to them to make that a reality. They have to put those games to the forefront, and they haven't been doing that a lot. Like they have a bunch of big IPs, the God of War situation. There's so many things they can do, but they're not really utilizing it right now. Okay, The Last of Us had that online situation going. We're still waiting on that. These games are years and years down the pipeline. 2027, 2028. Before we get these games, too far in between. And a part of the problem, in my opinion, is just that these games are so expensive to make now too. Millions and millions, hundreds of millions of dollars to make. The teams have to be just super huge, and games now take an average, AAA games take an average of like 5 years to make. So that's another thing that we have to look at. So I don't know, man. They really need to get some teams together, and get some stuff popping. But this is kind of unfortunate for all gamers, if I'm being honest. So, and that's the reason why I play everything too, because while I'm waiting for certain games for certain systems, there's other games that are being done and coming out for other systems as well. And that's kind of why I got into the Steam situation, because I like indie games as well. I'm not a guy who's hung up on just, it has to be AAA. It has to be this. It doesn't for me. It can be a game that's just fun. I'm a guy who will play Mike Tyson's Punch-Out right now from the Nintendo and play that shit all fucking day, right? If it's a good game, it's a good game. So that being said, guys, I'm going to end it here. If you guys enjoyed the video, please consider hitting the like and subscribe button. I drop content all the time on this channel now. I'm revamping the channel, so there will be content moving forward at least a few times a week. So definitely check me out. Also check out the podcast every Wednesday. It'll be here on this channel, or every Monday. Anywhere else you listen to your podcast, you can check that out as well. And with that being said, guys, I will see you all in the next video.